We think we know the story of the prodigal son. We've heard it 1,000 times. It's one of the most famous stories ever told. A young son asks for his inheritance early. He goes off and wastes it all. He hits rock bottom. He comes home ashamed. His father welcomes him with open arms and throws a party. The older, responsible son gets angry about it. The end. That's the basic plot. And it's a good story, just like that. But it's not the whole story. It's not even the main point of the story. Jesus told this parable for a reason. He was talking to a specific group of people. He was trying to show them something about God, about themselves, and about what it means to be truly lost. The deeper meaning isn't just about a rebellious kid who comes home. It's a story about two lost sons and a father whose love makes no logical sense. To get to the heart of it, we have to slow down. We have to look at each character. We have to understand what their actions would have meant to the people listening to Jesus that day. Because every detail in this story is packed with meaning. Let's start with the younger son, the one we call the prodigal, which just means wasteful. His first action is a shock. He goes to his father and says, "Give me the share of the estate that is coming to me." So, this sounds like a simple, if impatient, request to us. But in that culture, it was brutal. An inheritance was given after the father died. By asking for his share now, the son was essentially saying, "Dad, I wish you were dead. Your existence is an inconvenience to me. I want what's mine, and I want you out of the picture." Think about that. This isn't just a young man wanting to go see the world. This is a profound act of rejection. He is severing the relationship. He is liquidating his connection to his family, his community, his home. He is taking his share of the family's life and turning it into cash. He wants nothing more to do with them. The father, in his grief, could have refused. He could have disowned him right there. But he doesn't. He grants the request. He divides the property. He lets his son go. He honors the son's terrible choice. So the son leaves. He goes to a distant country. This is important. He doesn't just move to the next town. He puts as much distance as possible between himself and his father. He wants complete and total freedom from his father's world, his father's values, his father's love. And there he squanders everything. The story says he lived a life of dissolute living. He spent it all on fleeting pleasures. He was living for himself, by himself. And then the predictable happens. A famine hits the land, the money runs out. The friends he bought with his money disappear. He's alone, broke, and starving. He's so desperate, he gets a job feeding pigs. For a Jewish man, this is the ultimate humiliation. And pigs were considered unclean animals. To be so desperate that you're working with pigs, and to be so hungry that you're longing to eat the slop you're feeding them, is to hit the absolute bottom. He has lost everything. Not just his money, but his dignity, his identity, his humanity. He is no longer the son of a wealthy landowner. He is a servant in a pigsty in a foreign land, and no one cares if he lives or dies. This is the state of being truly lost. It's not just about being physically far from home. It's about being spiritually and emotionally empty. It's about realizing that the freedom you chased was actually a prison. The life you thought you were building was just a path to self-destruction. It's in that pigsty, in that moment of total degradation, that something shifts. The Bible says he came to his senses. It's a beautiful phrase. It's like he woke up from a long, terrible dream. He remembered his father's house. He remembered that even the hired servants in his father's house had more than enough bread while he was starving. Notice his motivation here. It's not some pure, noble repentance at first. It's hunger. It's desperation. He's not thinking, I have wronged my father and broken his heart, and I must seek his forgiveness. He's thinking, I'm going to die here. Maybe, just maybe, I can go back and get a job. He rehearses a speech. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants." He has a plan. He will admit his fault. He will acknowledge his unworthiness. And he will ask for a position, not as a son, but as an employee. He's expecting, at best, a transactional relationship. He broke the family contract, and now he's hoping to sign an employment contract. He has no concept of grace. He has no expectation of being welcomed back as a son. The thought is too wild, too impossible. He knows what he did. He knows what he deserves. And what he deserves is, at best, a job, and at worst, to be turned away completely. So he gets up and starts the long walk home with his practice speech ready, his head down, expecting nothing but a sliver of mercy. Now we turn to the father. In many ways, the story is not about the prodigal son. It's about the waiting father. The story implies that the father has been watching, waiting, every day since his son left. He hasn't forgotten him. He hasn't written him off. His heart has been aching for him. And the text says, "But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him." Think about what that means. The father wasn't just sitting in the house minding his own business. He was looking, he was scanning the horizon, he was hoping, and he recognized his son from a distance. He didn't see a dirty, defeated stranger. He saw his boy. And what does he do? The story says he felt compassion and ran and embraced him and kissed him. This is perhaps the most shocking part of the whole parable for its original audience. An elderly, dignified patriarch in that culture did not run. It was considered shameful. He would have had to hitch up his robes, exposing his legs, and sprint. It was an act of complete undignified, wild abandon. Why did he run? He ran to close the distance. He ran to get to his son before his son could even finish the walk of shame. He ran to get to him before the villagers could come out and condemn him. He ran to cover his son's shame with his own. He throws his arms around this boy who smells of pigs and failure. He kisses him repeatedly. He doesn't wait for the apology. He doesn't wait for the rehearsed speech. The son tries to get it out. "Father, I have sinned." The father's response is pure, unadulterated grace. He doesn't say, "I told you so." He doesn't say, "You'll be on probation for the next 6 months." He doesn't say, "Well, you can work in the fields and earn your way back into my good graces." Instead, he shouts orders to his servants. "Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him." The best robe was the father's own robe. It was a sign of honor and dignity. He is covering his son's filth and shame with his own splendor. He is saying, "You are my son. You carry my identity." And put a ring on his hand. This wasn't just jewelry. A ring, likely a signet ring, was a symbol of authority. It meant the son was restored to his full place in the family. He could conduct business in the father's name. It was a complete restoration of his status and power. And shoes on his feet. Slaves went barefoot. Only sons wore shoes. With this simple command, the father is erasing the son's self-conception as a hired servant. He is saying, "You are not a slave. You are a son." And then, the final, most extravagant command. "And bring the fatted calf and kill it and let us eat and celebrate." The fatted calf wasn't for an everyday meal. It was reserved for a huge special occasion, like a wedding or a visit from a dignitary. This is a massive public celebration. The father isn't just quietly forgiving his son. He is shouting his joy to the entire community. He is declaring to everyone, "My son is home." The father explains his reasoning in a single powerful sentence. "For this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found." This is the core of his joy. It's not about the money. It's not about the insult. It's about resurrection. The son who he had mourned as dead has come back to life. The relationship he thought was severed forever has been restored, and that is the only thing that matters. This is a picture of God's love. It's not a calculated conditional love. It's a scandalous, reckless, celebratory love. It's a love that runs to meet us in our shame. It's a love that restores us completely without demanding a period of penance. It's a love that throws a party when we simply turn for home. But the story doesn't end there. If it did, it would just be a heartwarming tale of forgiveness. But Jesus has another point to make. And that's where the older brother comes in. The older son has been out in the field working. He's the responsible one. The dutiful one. He never left. He never wasted his father's money. He did everything right. On his way in from the field, he hears the sound of music and dancing. He calls a servant over and asks what's going on. The servant tells him, "Your brother has come and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has received him back safe and sound." And the older brother's reaction. He becomes angry. He refuses to go into the party. His father, the same loving father who ran to meet the younger son, now comes out to plead with the older son. This is another act of humility. The father leaves his own party, his own celebration, to go out to his angry, pouting son. And the older son unloads on him. His speech is full of bitterness and self-pity. "Look, these many years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat, that I might celebrate with my friends." Listen to his language. "I have served you." The word he uses is the word for slaving. He sees his relationship with his father not as one of love and sonship, but as one of servitude and transaction. He's been putting in the hours doing the work expecting a reward. He's been obedient on the outside, but his heart is filled with resentment. He has been living in his father's house, but his heart is just as far away as his brother's was in the distant country. He is just as lost as the younger brother, but his lostness is harder to see. It's the lostness of self-righteousness. It's the lostness of the good religious person who thinks their performance earns them God's favor. Then he delivers his final bitter blow. He can't even bring himself to call his brother my brother. He spits out, "But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him." He defines his brother by his sin. He exaggerates the sin with prostitutes, which the text doesn't actually say. And he distances himself from both his brother and his father. He's saying, he is your son, not my brother, and you are a fool for welcoming him back. He is standing outside the circle of grace, judging both the recipient and the giver of that grace. He believes in fairness. He believes in earning what you get. And this celebration, this scandalous grace, is profoundly unfair. And he is right. It is unfair. Grace, by its very nature, is not fair. It is a gift. The father's response to him is just as gentle and loving as his response to the younger son. Or he doesn't get angry. He doesn't scold him. He pleads with him. Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. This is a stunning statement. The father is saying, you don't understand. You've had access to my love, my presence, my resources this whole time. You could have had a party with your friends any day you wanted. All you had to do was ask. You live in a world of slavish duty, but I am offering you a world of joyful sonship. Everything I have is already yours. You just haven't been enjoying it. You haven't been living in it. The older son thought the father's love was a wage to be earned. The father reveals that his love is a gift to be enjoyed. The older son was trying to earn what he already possessed. Then the father gently corrects his perspective. It was fitting to celebrate and be glad, for this your brother was dead, and is alive he was lost, and is found. Notice the gentle change. The older son said, this son of yours. The father says, this your brother. He's trying to restore the family. He's inviting the older son back into the relationship, back into the joy. He is inviting him to see his brother not as a rival or a sinner, but as a brother who has been brought back from the dead. And that's where the story ends. It's an open ending. We don't know if the older son goes into the party. We are left with the image of him standing outside, in the darkness, angry and alone, while the celebration of grace happens inside. The father is pleading with him to come in. The choice is his. So what is the deeper meaning of it all? Jesus was telling this story to a specific audience. Luke, the gospel writer, tells us that the tax collectors and sinners were drawing near to listen to Jesus. And the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling, saying, this man receives sinners and eats with them. The younger son represents the tax collectors and sinners. They knew they were far from God. They knew they had messed up. They were the outcasts living in their own kind of pigsty. They were the ones who, when they came to their senses, knew they had no right to demand anything from God. The older son represents the Pharisees and scribes. They were the religious insiders. They did all the right things. They followed the law. They worked hard in the Father's field. They saw themselves as obedient servants, and they were furious that Jesus was welcoming these sinners. They couldn't stand the unfairness of it. They couldn't stand the grace. They believed their obedience should earn them a special status, and Jesus was giving away that status for free to people who had done nothing to deserve it. This parable is a radical redefinition of God and of what it means to be lost. It shows us that there are two ways to be lost. You can be lost by breaking all the rules like the younger son, or you can be lost by keeping all the rules, but for the wrong reasons like the older son. You can be lost in a distant country, or you can be lost in your own backyard. The lostness of the younger son is obvious. The lostness of the older son is subtle, dangerous, and often goes unrecognized. It's the lostness that comes from pride, self-righteousness, and a judgmental heart. It's the spiritual deadness of someone who is technically in the house, but who has no joy, no love, and no relationship with the Father. The hero of the story, the central figure, is the Father. His love is the point. His love is not based on the performance of his sons. His love is based on his character. He loves both sons. He runs to the rebellious one, and he goes out to plead with the self-righteous one. His arms are open to both. He wants both of them in the party. The parable forces us to ask ourselves, which son am I? Sometimes we are the younger son. We run from God, chase our own desires, and find ourselves empty and broken. The good news of the story is that when we turn for home, even with mixed motives, the Father is already running to meet us. He doesn't just forgive us, he celebrates us. He restores us fully. But maybe for many of us who have grown up in a religious context, the more uncomfortable question is, am I the older son? Do I secretly believe that my good behavior makes me more deserving of God's love than someone else? Do I look down on the sinners who are welcomed into the fold? Do I feel a sense of resentment when grace is given to someone I think doesn't deserve it? Do I have a transactional relationship with God where I'm slaving for him in hopes of a reward instead of living joyfully as his child? Am I standing outside the party, angry at the unfairness of grace? The story's open ending is a direct question from Jesus to the Pharisees and to us. The Father has made his case. It was fitting to celebrate. The invitation has been given. Come in and join the party. The question is, will we? Will we lay down our pride, our sense of fairness, our judgment? Will we accept that God's family is built not on merit, but on mercy? Will we learn to celebrate the return of our lost brothers and sisters? Will we finally step out of the cold darkness of our own self-righteousness and into the warm, joyful, scandalous light of the Father's love? Ultimately, the parable of the prodigal son is about the heart of God. It tells us that God is not a stern judge or a demanding taskmaster. He is a father who waits, who runs, who embraces, who restores, and who throws a party. His deepest desire is not for our slavish obedience, but for our presence at his table. He is not looking for servants, he is looking for sons and daughters, and the door to the party is always open. The only thing that can keep us out is our own refusal to go in.